common misconception is that Lilith and Inanna are the same person, but they're not. It's all due to imagery, where the two are very similar. When Lilith's name was Lamashtu, because the more you go back, the more you find the real ancient names. Lamashtu is part of the Mesopotamian, Sumerian, Anunnaki history and stories. Let's start with the facts. Lamashtu was created by Enki when he came to Earth. He had already established Eridu, his city, where the Garden of Eden was. And initially she was a mother goddess that was supposed to take care of the procreation of the black-headed people, these Adapa and Adamus that the Anunnaki had created as their slave race. Instead, Inanna is second-gen Anunnaki, daughter of Enlil, and she was born on Earth. But she was born a long time after Lamashtu was born. And Lamashtu, Lilith, is not related to Enlil. She has the serpent DNA of Enki, the creator god. More evidence that Inanna and Lilith are not the same person comes from their love affairs that have all been written down. Inanna, the love of her life, was Damuzi. Lilith, the love of her life, was Samael. So I tried to look for the connection between Damuzi and Samael, and there was absolutely nothing. So the love of their lives are not the same man. And now I'm going to tell you how Inanna and Lilith get confused because of the vampire story. It actually wasn't Lilith to be the vampire. It was Inanna. When Damuzi, the love of Inanna's life, gets killed and is sent to the underworld, she decides to go get him. So she travels to the underworld. I will tell the specific story in better detail and put it in the Anunnaki playlist, but right now let's sum it up in a nutshell. Inanna goes all the way to the underworld, and she is met by her sister, Ereshkigal, that then murders her. However, Inanna's attendants enlist the help of the god Enki. And listen to this, how he saves her. That gives the origin to the first vampire. We all know that Enki is a genius, and what he does to bring Inanna back to life will shock you. Enki goes to the underworld, finds Inanna's corpse, which Ereshkigal had left hanging, and Enki gives her blood to drink and pours it down her throat. And this is how she comes back to life. Enki did some enchantment and gave her blood of a living person when her body was deceased, and that brought her back to life, which is exactly how we see the tales of the vampires being created, when there is a person that is no longer living and they give them blood to bring them back to life. Thus, he created the first vampire, and the first vampire was not Lilith, it was Inanna. And now we can connect them even more. A lot of scholars get confused here because at certain points they read Inanna and think it's Inanna, but instead they were saying Lilith of Inanna, because Inanna then gave the vampire eternal life to Lilith. Lilith was not born a vampire. She was a shapeshifter, but the vampire traits came in later. In fact, in the beginning of Lilith's story, Lilith, in the beginning, all the way up to where she had her relation with Cain, her behavior was that of a mortal woman. Yes, she had wings and she could fly, but other than that, the way she behaved was not of an aggressive monster. It was more of a woman fleeing for her independence. So once Lilith is given the trait of Inanna, she becomes the people of Inanna. Lilith, Lamashtu, one entity, and Inanna is a separate entity. They have two different bloodlines. Lilith, Lamashtu, is from the Enki bloodline, and Inanna is from the Enlil bloodline. A lot of scholars have confused Ishtar, Inanna, Lilith, and Lamashtu, Medusa, and so many more. That is because they get tricked by the names and the name of So the first vampire was not Lilith, it was Inanna. And then Inanna gave this power to Lilith afterwards, if we follow the chronological order.